Now, as we talk about travel, a massive blow to the airline industry after the company behind Pearson Airport announcing it's eliminating 500 jobs, a quarter of its workforce. So what does this say about the future of air travel? For more, I'm joined by McGill global aviation professor John Gradek. For more, good morning to you, John.
Good morning, Mel.
I think maybe not surprising news when we saw the layoffs, but as we just saw in that feature just 10 minutes ago, all of the different safety protocol that's put in place, we've got the robots, the sprays, the touchless things. You would think that maybe they needed those human bodies to be able to be there for the upkeep. So how does this all work hand in hand, the Healthy Airports program versus the layoffs?
Well, let's just talk about the layoffs just for a couple of minutes. I think that the layoffs were not surprising. I think that we've seen airports across Canada, Montreal, Vancouver, Calgary, take layoffs in the range of about 25 to 35%. So GTAA was a little slow behind the rest of the Canadian airports. So it is trying times. The traffic that would normally be there in the summertime is nowhere near those levels that normally we would be expecting, somewhere around 25% of those levels. So we don't need as many people in those airports to basically handle that level of traffic. So the question then becomes one of technology that's being put in place. Plus there's also, the question of the number of people deploying that technology. So the airports basically are looking at trying to put together a more sanitary approach to going through that airport. It is a very different experience, as you saw. And there's a lot of technology being deployed into the airports these days that really try to make sure that people are, following the rules. You cannot go into the terminal unless you're flying.
Right.
The meters and greeters just are not allowed into that building. So it's a much more sterile environment. And there's a lot more equipment that's put in place to make sure that everybody that comes through that airport environment is safe and they're managing the virus.
I want to talk about safety and future of airports in just a second, but I want to mention the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy. So we did reach out to the GTAA, who said, they were using it, they did apply for it, and then they stopped because it just wasn't sustainable, really because of what they need to look at when it comes to bigger picture for some of their personnel. So I just wanted to mention that we did reach out to the GTAA. But I think the big question for a lot of people is, how long is it going to be like this?
Well, that's the big question. I think, and it's a question of the Canadian traveling public feeling comfortable in flying again. I think that's where people are still concerned about what the environment looks like on board an airplane. You're looking at airplanes that are going to get more and more crowded. 2 or 3 months ago, sometimes you'd be the only person on the plane. Today, the airplanes are getting more and more crowded. They're back to what they normally be, close to 100% load factor. So you'll be sitting next to somebody that you may not know or that you will not know, and whether you won't know their medical condition. And if you're sitting beside that person and that person is feeling somewhat ill and starts to cough or starts to sneeze, I think that would get some people pretty nervous.
Mm-hmm. And also, what are the long-term effects here? So eventually, we will get to some sense of normalcy when it comes to air travel or comfort level. Again, it could take some time. Who knows what that magic answer is on the timeline? But is there anything that you see that's being put into place now that is going to stick around for a while?
Well, I think that there's some fundamental changes that will be in place. I think that the sterility of the airport and the hygiene in the airport will stick. The hygiene, when you get on board an airplane and you see the work that's been done by the airlines to clean that airplane up before you get on the airplane, is going to stick. I think people are going to be very, very conscious about hygiene and safety on board the airplane. The service levels that you have on airplanes, which today are very low, they probably will come back. So you get meals served, you'll get drinks served, slowly but surely. But will flight attendants keep wearing masks? Will flight attendants look at hazmat suits? Some airlines around the world have basically got, uniforms for flight attendants that are hazmats. And so, that will probably go by the boards once we get a vaccine. But I think, the introduction of the vaccine and the successful deployment of the vaccine is probably the one thing that will drive people's need and desire to fly once again.
Indeed, and some of these vaccine companies have already said, don't put all your money on us just yet, right? Because there's still a lot of work to be done. Nothing's 100%. John, some great insight here. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but we thank you so much this morning, and I'm sure we'll be talking again.
Oh, I'm sure, Mel. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.